It's about the flight path to alignment. Specifically, how do some of the most iconic airlines engage their staff when sometimes your employees are 10, 20,000 feet in the air? So please welcome to the stage from American Airlines and British Airways, Peter and Nick. Welcome, welcome. How's it going?
Good.
Great.
Good morning.
So I gave you a little bit of an intro, but it might be worth talking a bit about yourselves. Tell us a little bit about your career history, and I know the brands, but maybe just give us a bit of information about them. Peter, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. My name's Peter Lyons. I'm the head of communications business partnering at British Airways. I've been working in communications for around 15 years, and I've worked in Australia. I have an Australian accent, but I have been in the UK for the past 10 years working at British Airways.
Excellent. And Nick?
All right, I'm Nick Glassy. I work at American Airlines. I'm the digital experience manager within our global engagement group. So that's our corporate communications and marketing groups. I've been with American Airlines for the last 8 years, been in the communications industry about 15 years as well.
Excellent. So let's get started. Specifically, when we think of airlines, we often think of that passenger experience. We all know it. A lot of us did it to get here today. But behind that, you've got a really complex operational puzzle happening. You've got coordinating flight crews across different continents, frontline teams in dozens of airports, and the corporate offices, of course. And of course, your passengers expect perfection in that whole process. What does alignment actually look like when your office spans 30,000 feet and 6 continents? Peter?
Yeah, so like all airlines, we have hundreds of locations around the world and thousands of colleagues based around the world working in a diverse mix of roles. So the cabin crew, pilots, engineers, contact center workers, office workers, and at British Airways, 80% of our colleagues are based on the front line. Mm-hmm. So that means they're not based behind a computer. They're working at 38,000 feet. They're working in engineering hangars. They're on the phone to our customers. They're in the airport. So a really diverse mix of audience groups. So what does alignment look like for us? So alignment for us means that anyone working in any of those roles around the world understands what we need from them, where we're heading as a business, and how they can make a difference in their role. Mm-hmm. So it's really about giving clarity, told through engaging ways and through the right channels to cut through that digital noise. Yep. And that digital noise is a real challenge for us in the aviation industry, because if I take a cabin crew member, for example, in just one day, they might be hit with a safety notice, a briefing from their manager, yep. Product information, mm-hmm. a backlog of emails that they need to read from their last shift. And if they have a spare minute, they might have time to log on to the intranet. Mm-hmm. And that's before they even step on board the aircraft to serve a cup of tea to our customers.
Yes, yeah. Excellent. And what about yourself, Nick?
Absolutely. I love hearing from other people in the airline industry because you really understand the unique challenges that we face. And so American Airlines, if you're not aware, is one of the largest airlines in the world. We have 130,000 team members globally. They're operating thousands of flights a day in more than 60 countries. So it is, and one of the things I didn't really understand before I worked in the airline industry was just how diverse all of the different work groups are. We have 30 different work groups within our company, and they all have distinct job functions and different demands placed on them every single day. So, and like British Airways, we have less than 10% of that are actually people who sit at a desk in an office and will log into a workstation. And mm-hmm. So we have a very small portion of our workforce that will, be able to log onto our intranet, and they're clicking through it every single day. But there's this challenge of reaching people who have very limited time, who are in front of customers 90% of the time. So part of our job as a communications group and as a digital group is making sure that when people do access the platforms that we put in front of them, that we are highlighting the top 5 things that they have to know that day. Mm-hmm. So we're being very intentional and thoughtful about how we position information in front of them, so that here's the 5 things you have to know today, and then here are the tools that you need to be able to do your job, and making that very easy for them.
Mm-hmm. And so thinking about that diversity in the workforce in terms of like the gate agents, you've got of course, the corporate offices, flight operations, they're all doing so many different types of things, but of course you're working for the same company. How do you ensure that no matter what role you're in, that you're working towards the same North Star, Peter?
Yeah. So for us at British Airways, our North Star is our internal corporate narrative. It's called A Better BA. And A Better BA was launched in 2022 following the pandemic. So really difficult few years everyone in the aviation industry went through. And A Better BA was all around wrapping our arms around our customers and our colleagues after those difficult few years, and just really being honest that things have been difficult, but things would get better. So since 2022, we've framed all of our comms against that North Star. And I would say probably through three different ways. Number one would be sort of channels, and having channels that work for those diverse audiences. We have an intranet powered by Unily. It's called RBA. We use a mix of digital and analog channels to tell that story. And we also have a layered approach to how we talk about our North Star. And it all starts from the top. So every month, our CEO will produce a vlog, and that vlog will set the story for the next, say, 4 weeks. And then that's followed up by the departmental communication from their leader and what that means for them in their role. So it's very much a tiered approach in how we talk about the North Star. The second thing that we do to communicate our North Star to our people is around campaigns. So we use campaigns quite a lot to cut through that digital noise and tell stories in engaging ways. We all live in a information overload world, so it's really important that we are creative to cut through that noise, and we use campaigns to do that. And the third thing that we do is we amplify our messages through external channels. So we're really passionate at BA around anything that we share internal needs to be shared external, and external is internal. So we use our sort of PR activity to build pride amongst our colleagues, whether that's a new customer product launch or a new route launch. We use those moments to build pride and to share that same A Better BA message internally and externally.
And actually, so a question for you. I know, so I got to go to the BA HQ recently, and we filmed together for the British Airways case study, which you saw come up yesterday. One of the things I was so interested in was specifically how you've improved your on-time performance. And one thing is like having a goal of which, okay, this is our goal. How do you really get the employees? Because as we said, it's a diverse workforce, multiple teams working together. How do you kind of unite those employees to all kind of improve that measure to actually get the outcome that you wanted?
Yeah. I think it's just being really transparent and honest about what we're trying to achieve. We've recently just launched a £7 billion investment program at BA last year, and that was all around investing where it matters most. And part of that was around what we need to get from our colleagues. So I think Dr. Mae Jamison yesterday was talking about outcome-based communication. What's the outcome of your communication? And after a difficult few years in the industry with loads of external elements that can impact on-time performance, like weather, air traffic control restrictions, geopolitical events. It's just about really being really clear, concise, and consistent in what you're asking from your teams to help you achieve that North Star.
Nice, excellent. And Nick, what about the North Star American Airlines?
Yes, and when I think about North Star and being clear and consistent, we do have a set of strategic objectives that we talk about as far as building a world-class customer experience and building American Airlines to thrive together forever, and making culture a competitive advantage. And we have primary goals, which is how we talk about that, and that's reliability, accountability, and profitability. And so when we talk about that, I think about the way that we've structured our global engagement team. So we have subject matter experts who are embedded in every single part of the business. So as our communicators, it's our job to help drive American forward and create impact through engagement and strategic communication. And so we have people who are in our group who are making those connections and being proactive collaborators with every single leader in our business, so that when they're making decisions and we talk about what we're doing as a company, we can make sure they're all aligned to those objectives. And then we're putting that in a way in front of team members that's thoughtful and engaging with them.
Excellent. Now, it's come up a little bit already how sometimes the pressure in the industry can be relentless. And at this conference, we're trying to understand how we exceed the pace of change. of course, sometimes for you guys, a lot of that is out of your control, whether it's to do with geopolitical issues or whether it's to do with technical things or weather delays. Some of it is out of your control. And so in order to be successful, you need a workforce that's quite resilient. How are you thinking about trying to build that resilience into the workforce and keeping that morale up, Peter?
Yeah, well, I mean, our bill for donuts and ice cream is really high. It's the same in American as well. So that really helps keep morale and our team engaged. But on a real serious note, you mentioned about factors outside of our control. It really does. They do have an impact on how our colleagues feel. Weather, like I've mentioned, I know it might sound really simple, but a storm or a hurricane or anything that's happening in the world can delay flights, can cancel flights, and therefore you've got cabin crew who are ready to go on their worldwide trip that is cancelled and they've got nowhere to go. So if I were to break it down, I'd probably talk about three things. Number one would be sort of that clear, concise communication and being transparent with your teams. In March of this year, Heathrow Airport had a massive power outage, which was completely unprecedented. Thousands of customers stranded, all flights were grounded, no flight could take off or could land. And in that moment, it was so important that we gave our people the information they needed to not only help them understand what it means for them, but to help them to talk to our customers on board. Thousands of customers in the airport, planes, we call it down route, not at Heathrow. How do you communicate to those customers in those times where information is needed, that immediacy of information is needed. So it's being clear, concise, and consistent. The second area I would say is being real and human. I think high-performing companies succeed because they have leaders that show they care. And when you have leaders that show that they understand the issues, they know how colleagues are feeling, then it can have a big impact on morale. At BA, we place a big focus on understanding the business and getting out working in the front line. I fly as cabin crew 3 times a year. We have colleagues who work as baggage handlers at check-in desks to really get under the skin of how our colleagues are feeling. And when it does get tough, they know exactly what to say at the right moment. And the third thing I would say is around recognition and recognizing at scale. We have a recognition platform. It's called Above and Beyond. And that platform allows peer-to-peer recognition against our 3 values: excellence, caring, and open-minded. And just the power of recognition, even if it's just a simple thank you, really goes a long way. There's no monetary reward attached to that recognition. It's purely just a thank you for doing a great job. And it really makes all the difference, and it helps to improve morale.
And Nick, what about you guys when it comes to the workforce and building that morale?
Well, yeah, and Peter mentioned donuts and ice cream. I think for us it's pizza. No, but in all seriousness, recognition is a huge thing. I could talk about our recognition platform we launched just prior to the pandemic. It's called Nonstop Thanks, similar to Above and Beyond. It has peer-to-peer, but I really think more than the programs and the platforms, it's about the culture of the company. And so since I've been at American, we talk about our purpose being to care for people on life's journey. And that's more than just caring for our customers, but it's caring for team members. And our team members are on a journey. There's a career journey, there's onboarding journey, and it's more than just getting you from point A to point B, but showing you that we care for you along the way. And so I think the leaders in our company who are very effective are the ones who show their team that they care and they trust them and that they treat them with dignity. And so when things are difficult, they can get in the trenches with them, show them that they understand the role, and that helps build morale. And we have a long way to go, but it's something that we're trying to improve every day.
And you mentioned kind of customer experience there, and everyone, no matter what industry you're in, is trying to understand what the kind of consumer dynamics are at the moment and trying to react to those and build your business in a way to serve those. One of the big trends at the moment in your industry is to do with consumers paying premium for better product. And obviously that comes with heightened expectations from customers. How do you see the role of employee experience in delivering on that customer experience? Peter, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of research around good employee experience equals great customer experience. There were a few speakers yesterday talking about the same topic. And for me, it's about trying to replicate that employee experience as much as you can to match that customer experience. And from a comms point of view, we have a part to play in talking about what we're doing to improve the employee experience. But looking beyond comms and to teams outside of my remit, we, as part of our £7 billion investment, we do quite a few things across the year to show that we are, we do care and we are investing in the employee experience. So we've just, we've given all of our cabin crew iPhones so that they can personalize the experience on board the aircraft. They know, customers' details, they know where they're flying to and from, any connecting flights, meal preferences. We've invested in a new uniform. So for more than 20,000 of our colleagues, that was designed by 1,500 of those 20,000 colleagues as a way to show that we do care and we are investing. We have also invested in health and well-being. So we have new employee network groups across British Airways, and they drive forward a lot of those topics that matter to our people. So LGBT, women in leadership, Black and ethnic minority groups. So that plays a big role in helping to bridge that gap between EX and CX. And then finally, career development. We have loads of apprenticeship schemes and learning and development opportunities at British Airways to help, promote that message that we care and we are making a difference where it matters the most.
I actually want to ask a bit more about that, because I feel like something I've seen you do very well is apply that creative mindset to ensure that the content that you are delivering isn't just informational, but creates that sort of connection and engagement that inspires the action. Tell me a bit more about some of the creative tactics you've used to engage some of the BA staff campaigns you've spoken about.
Yeah, definitely. So, listening to some of the great speakers yesterday, we talked about some of those foundational elements that are really important for communication, like, clear, concise, consistent, right channels, right audience at the right time. But for me, it's, like I said before, using creativity to cut through that noise. And we've used creative tactics in the past 2 years, like a customer service campaign. It was called Bring the Warmth. And that was all around identifying where we needed to improve those customer satisfaction points. So, for example, at check-in, or if you're sort of connecting at the airport. And we used celebrities to tell that story. So we used a celebrity called Alison Hammond.
She's on Great British Bake Off at the moment, isn't she? If anyone watches that.
Well, Nick knows who she is. I was really surprised that Nick...
From GPD?
So
She was actually originally famous from Big Brother. Did you know that? That's her first...
that was her first stint in TV. So Alison, she took part in an 8-part video series that talked about these 8 points in our customer experience to help our colleagues recognize where they needed to maybe go the extra mile and help make that experience better for our customers. We've also used creative campaigns like for a new uniform and using face-to-face as one of our channels. So we talked a lot about sort of digital channels, but for me, it's about those analog channels. And when I think about our diverse audiences, whilst our cabin crew, they love digital, they love the TikToks, they love the Instagrams, we have thousands of other colleagues who don't engage with digital platforms. And engineering is a really big department where the demographics are mostly men, middle-aged or retirement age, and they just don't interact with digital channels. They prefer a piece of paper. They prefer to sit down with their manager, have a cup of tea, and hear from someone direct. And that's where we bring those face-to-face tactics, those creative campaigns, whether it's a roadshow or it's a colleague forum. Sometimes, as much as I love Unily, sometimes you just need to go back to basics and use those analog channels, because that's where it matters the most.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you kind of got that multi-channel strategy. Also, I think it goes back to your point around the diverse workforce, where I think you call them below the wing employees that are really hard to engage, and so you've got to do what you've got to do, right?
Yeah.
Nick, let me come to you. So your original question was about premium product and how we kind of deliver on that through employee experience because of heightened expectations. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's customer experience is a promise. When your customer buys a product, they expect a certain experience. And so there's been sort of a renaissance around customer experience, especially around American Airlines. There's been a lot of discussion.
I've been reading the news.
About we've created an entirely new customer experience organization. There's new leadership. We've brought in a customer experience advisory panel. So as a comms organization, we're really trying to tell the story about not just externally, but internally. This is what we're doing as a company, and this is why we're doing it. And then the team member experience is just as important, because it's really, okay, so as a team member, this is now what's expected of you. And then from my perspective, I'm a digital experience person, right? So I'm looking at digital. So we have to think about our tools and the platforms that we're putting in front of our team members the same way that we would for a customer and the experience that a customer has. So our team members who are used to being able to chat in real time shouldn't be expected to have to pick up a phone from the plane and call the gate. And so one of the innovations that happened in the last 10 years or so was now that all of our team members actually have devices in their hands, how can we have dynamic chat groups? We call that Connect Me, which is how if you're working a flight, you can be connected directly to the people that are working with you. And we're able to enable better experience for our team members so they can deliver better experience for our customers.
Yeah. What else are you doing in the kind of, so you're interested in digital experience? How are you trying to, because you've invested a lot in that recently, what else are you doing in the digital space to kind of like connect your employees?
Oh, it's, there's all sorts of digital transformation. And so, I mean, Unily, I will say Unily has been big for us. We just launched Unily in December of 2024. So it's been about 10 months. And when we relaunched our intranet, we saw instant adoption. There's 98% of our audience has adopted it. So then we're thinking through, okay, so how can we better reach different groups using the features that are available to us now? So we have targeting, we have information about our team members and what they prefer. And so it's just trying different things and making sure that we're making it easier for our team members.
And then you, when I was speaking to one of your colleagues, they were already talking about how they use that analytics to then fine-tune the whole content strategy. So I think it's like doing the whole, like not just putting it out there, but how do you like continuously improve the content that's going out on your digital channels?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're constantly evolving and changing how we are creative and how we're creating content. And so, and you can't, and we look at the analytics, but then we also take feedback into account. And, like Peter said, there are certain demographics within our company that will never sit and watch a video. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't do video, but it just means we should be telling this message in different ways. So the videos that are engaging, how do we replicate that format? And then if it's an email or if it's something analog or a different way, how can we make sure that everybody's reached in a way that they can engage with?
And so we've spoken a little bit about frontline. I think if I ran this panel 5 years ago, the question I would have been asking is, how do we reach the hard to reach? Whereas I think that's table stakes now. You've both spoken about how you can reach them. It's just about fine-tuning that. How are you trying to, now that you can reach them, how are you trying to create that more sustained engagement over a period of time? Peter, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so for me, and I talked about this already, but it's those foundational elements. And to create sustained engagement, it's using creative tactics. So thinking about what's the outcome you're trying to achieve and how can you be creative to achieve that outcome, like bringing in a celebrity to tell your story. Like how can you use Unily to bring to life some of your key messages? Last year we launched a new sustainability learning program built on Unily, and this was basically an interactive learning program to educate our colleagues around our sustainability targets, around the planet, our people, and the community. And basically you had a combination of quizzes and games and sort of all the different widgets on there. And it just really helped to tell what could have just been an email in a really exciting, engaging, and something that colleagues wanted to be part of. So that's one thing that we do to sort of build beyond some of those foundational elements to cut through that noise.
And Nick, what about yourself?
I would agree. Reach is kind of table stakes now. I said we had 98% of our workforce actually logs into JetNet, which is our intranet powered by Unily. And we can look in the analytics and see we have 86% of people are using apps and tools. And so we can see that they're finding some value in that. And we have 30% of our workforce is actually engaging with the news that we're putting out. And so really the journey we're on right now as a company is thinking through, okay, so how can we really measure, so of those people who are engaging, is it really, how are they comprehending? Is the message resonating? Which types of content are they actually more likely to engage with, and then be able to take that message out and tell it to others?
Excellent. Now, there's something quite interesting, which is that obviously you're both from the aviation industry, and I think this kind of idea that managing distributed, high-performing teams is something that seems to be a real focus of people in the room, but it's something that you guys is built into the business. What lesson would you give from your industry to the people in the audience of something they could take away and apply to their own industry?
Yeah. So aviation industry, huge amount of volatility that goes on, and there are thousands of moving parts, and if one of those moving parts goes wrong or slips away, then the whole operation falls apart. So I think there are quite a few lessons that we can learn in those high-pressure environments and that are applicable to industries beyond aviation. And the first one for me is clear, concise consistency. And what do I mean by consistency? I mean being relentless in talking about your messages. I always think if you're bored of talking about your key messages, then that's only when it's starting to land with your team. When we launched the Better BA in 2022, I remember getting to the end of that year and I was exhausted of talking about a Better BA, but that was the moment that we only started to hear our cabin crew talking about the term a Better BA.
Yeah.
So it's just being relentless and consistent in talking about your North Star. The second thing for me is just to be real and human. I think we've talked a lot about AI over the past day. Actually, we were just joking before, this time next year we could be bots on the stage. It might be real people. Nothing beats the power of human connection. And in those high pressure situations, you just need to make sure that you're being real and understand your audience. And the third thing for me is staying cool under pressure. I'm hoping we've got across the message that the aviation industry is a really difficult industry to work in because there are so many moving parts, so many variables that could make things really stressful for you and your teams. And in my role, I need to make sure I'm always thinking about the employee. And if I were them, how would I want to feel? And what communication would I want to hear about? And you always need to sort of forget about the stress and just stay focused because when you have thousands of people based around the world, you need to make sure you're communicating to them pretty quickly.
Excellent. And actually, you spoke a little bit about the Heathrow shutdown, but for anyone that was anyone's based in the UK, I don't know if it was covered over here, but this was like a massive deal. You've got thousands of staff that were going in on that day to Heathrow that needed that communication. This is a prime example of where communication is central to how you fix all of that. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you navigated that? It's quite complex.
So go back to March. It was about 3:30 a.m. in the morning, and some of the team got a phone call that all flights had been grounded due to there was a big fire at a substation. So all flights flying into Heathrow and flying out of Heathrow were just not flying that day at all. So like I said before, thousands of cabin crew, they're all ready to depart on their aircraft, and they've got nowhere to go. And the first place that they go to when it comes to crisis is our intranet called our BA. And in times of crisis, for me, it's really important that there's a central source of truth. When you have hundreds of thousands of people based around the world, American Airlines and BA, you need to make sure that there's one source. Otherwise, it just creates confusion, which doesn't lead to confidence and doesn't result in a great customer experience. So on that particular day, by 7 a.m., we had set up a brand new page on Unily, and that was our central source of truth. There was an initial statement that was already pre-signed off as part of our crisis communications manual, and it meant that we were able to give colleagues the clarity they needed to talk to our customers and to each other when they were feeling lost and they were looking to us for information. And throughout that day, that one page was updated with frequently asked questions. It included a video from our CEO, which was also posted on external channels. And it was a huge success story. I think it had something like 70,000 views by the end of that day because people were desperate. They were hungry for information. And it was a real big success story for us. And it really proved that you don't need to have a creative campaign with Alison Hammond. Sometimes it's just the really simple things matter the most to your team, and having that central source of information to cut through that noise.
Yeah. Clear information delivered simply and quickly. Excellent. And Nick, final question for you on what tip would you give for people outside of the industry in terms of how you manage highly dispersed teams and deal with some of that disruption regularly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, excuse me, So the aviation industry, we like to talk about, we had to figure out remote work way before anybody was even talking about remote work. And you have people in highly specialized roles who are completely self-sufficient. If you think about a flight attendant, they are going to show up and do their job and go home and come back the next day. They will probably be working with different people. They will never go into an office. Some of them will never meet their direct manager, but they have to be given all of the training, all of the tools that they need to be able to do their job. And I think part of that is setting clear expectations. There is a very clear expectation of what's required. There's a playbook to go by. I think when we talk about being able to respond in a time of crisis, the only way that that works is because there is a clearly defined playbook that we've already thought about, where we can go in and say, this is what's expected, this is what we're going to go do in this time of crisis. But as far as the role in like a flight attendant role or a remote role, I think there's also this aspect of there are certain types of people who will really thrive in that environment. And I would be a horrible flight attendant. I would never have gone and interviewed to be a flight attendant. I love sitting in an office and being in front of my computer and interacting with my teammates every day. But I think part of that is like when you have those set expectations and those roles and those tools that are tailored for that specific work, it helps everybody be successful.
Excellent. Now I'm going to move to audience Q&A. So we've seen a few questions already come in. Thank you so much for contributing those. You can still contribute. I'm going in terms of the top prioritized ones. And the first one is from Rich, which is, how does the Unily platform enhance internal comms effectiveness and employee engagement, particularly in a large global organization like BA? What are the key metrics used to measure its success in achieving those goals? So employee engagement, for example.
Yeah, so Unily, or first of all, when you have thousands of colleagues based across the world, there's no one size fits all. So Unily really helps us to target our audiences and the information that we share with people. So yeah, Unily helps us because we can target information to a cabin crew versus engineering versus airport workers, and it means we can cut through that noise and we can make an impact. And if you are, you've got thousands of emails to read, you've got safety notices to look at, you need to have a briefing with your team before the flight. Unily means that you can see the information that you need for your role at that particular time. In terms of metrics, Unily gives us a sentiment score. So we utilize the chat rooms feature on Unily and the comments feature, and it gives us a sentiment score on how our colleagues are feeling. And all the usual metrics that any platform would provide, like views, email open rates. All the basics, but it's really that sentiment score that makes an impact for us because we know how our colleagues are feeling at any particular time.
And then how is that kind of actioned? Is that for you and the internal communication team, or?
Yeah, so one of your earlier questions was around how does employee experience improve the customer experience?
Yeah.
And one thing that we talk to our CEO about all the time is employee engagement. And we each month meet with our CEO and we present to him the sentiment score. We present to him sort of views on his vlog and what people are saying about the vlog. And it provides a really good conversation point. And it's data that we didn't have before. And it has really helped to elevate the position of communications with those C-suite leaders. Because I think if you go back even just 5 years ago, communications was seen as a bit of an afterthought. But now, certainly at British Airways, communications are seen as a critical function in the business. And that's all because of some of the data that Unily gives to us.
Yeah, I think what's really cool as well is that I know you're responsible for communications business partnering as well, so it's kind of recognition of the value that it has to partner with other parts of the business to deliver in their roles.
Yeah, definitely. And looking beyond Unily as well, we always try to link up that outcome. So what are we trying to achieve? Is it to improve customer satisfaction? Is it to improve on-time performance? I always tell my team to think about the outcome before they even talk about the tactics so that we are really clear and focused and measured in the work that we're doing, because we are a small team. I think most companies, communications always comes with a small team, so we need to be really clever in what we focus on. Otherwise, things can spiral out of control very quickly.
Cool. And moving on to a question from Rebecca from RWJ. What strategies have been effective in encouraging employees, specifically all of those who are primarily working away from a desktop, to download things like mobile apps. Digital question, let's come for you, Nick.
We load the app onto their phone for them. So I mean, that's really, really part of, and how we've positioned JetNet, it's our digital workplace hub. So most of the tools that you need to do your job, you access it through JetNet. So they're opening it up every day just to get to how can I punch my time card, or to how do I look at my paycheck, or how do I book a non-rev trip. So part of that is just making sure that it is central to the employee experience, and then there's a little bit of, we load it on their device for them.
And there's an interesting point there as well about understanding that like the communication sits alongside some of the productivity stuff. I think something that came out in some of the sessions yesterday was like how you need to view the information and move that into action. And those examples of like punching your timesheet show how the whole experience sits together, and that helps to drive the adoption as well.
Absolutely.
So moving on to a question from Kimberly from Prudential. How do you maintain morale and engagement during times of disruption, such as operational challenges, travel demand fluctuations, or major organizational change? Peter, I'll come for you.
Yeah, I think we covered a bit of this before, but just to build on it, so as well as the donuts and the pizza, I think it just comes down to being transparent and honest with your teams, and just showing that you do care and you understand what's going on, and to give colleagues the clarity that they need to help improve morale. One of the things that has worked really well for us last year, so as an airline, obviously you have an aircraft, and on the aircraft you have engines, and those engines are made by different manufacturers. And last year we were seeing, as a result of these geopolitical events across the world, so in Russia and Ukraine, it was having a big impact on the production of some of the engines, not just for British Airways, but across the world. And that meant, having to make some difficult decisions to our operation, which resulted in some customers having to be sort of rebooked onto other flights. But what we did, we were quite proactive, and we emailed all of our colleagues to let them know the situation. And this was an issue affecting airlines across the world. It wasn't just a British Airways issue. And because we were transparent and honest, and we explained the background, it meant that our colleagues were much more understanding when we had to make difficult decisions in the future. And that was something that really helped to improve morale, because we just showed that we're all human. We're not this big scary management team at the top hidden in an office. We're just mormal people, and we're just being as honest as we can, so that when things do go wrong, like I say, your team are just much more understanding, and then morale, the impact is quite low.
Nick, any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, clarity and transparency is always, it makes a big difference. And I would also say, one of the things that we keep hearing as a company is that people really want to hear things from their direct manager and their supervisor. And so there is a level of trust that's built up sometimes that's better with the local management teams than maybe necessarily from a corporate perspective. So one of the things we also do as a communications organization is we do have targeted communications and resources that go out to our leaders of people, so that they can really be equipped to talk to the teams and really carry the message and help the teams deal with whatever's going to come up.
Excellent. So another question, which is, Peter, I'll come to you on this one. So obviously working in the airline industry can be very highly unionized, multi-union environment. What challenges does that bring you from a comms strategy perspective? Is it okay for you to?
Yeah, so like Nick, I think you mentioned your team is sort of a business partner. You have sort of teams based in the operation. My team is a business partnering team, and we business partner with the key big operational areas, and that includes business partnering with the industrial relations team as well, to really understand what some of the issues are going on in the business. So for me, it's staying as close as possible and close as you can to the team, and just understanding what's making colleagues tick. Because sometimes the pizza and the donuts just don't cut it, and you've really got to talk about the things.
Or pizza, it's getting a bad rep in this family.
Yeah. You've just really got to talk about the things that matter the most to your team members. Like you say, aviation, and particularly in the UK, is highly unionized. And you only need to Google search British Airways over the past 5 years, and you'll see some of the issues that we faced. And the reason why we've been able to come out of those moments successfully is because of good communication and being clear, concise, consistent, told through the right channels, using your managers as one of those channels. Like Nick said, we do engagement surveys every year, and one of the things that always comes up is manager communication. And no matter how much you post on your digital channels, it's the manager that's always rated as the most trusted channel. And if you can brief your managers on things like trade union issues, it can often make or break the situation, because you have advocates out there talking about those key messages and helping to bring your team on the journey so that any outcome is always a successful outcome.
Yeah, excellent. Nick, so I'll come to you on this next question. So I know you create a lot of news, you personalize a lot of that news so it goes to the right types of people. How do you balance content created by the teams for internal comms versus other content contributors? What does that look like at American?
At American Airlines, we used to have, when I started, we had a separate internal communications team and an external communications team. Since then, we've been through several reorgs, and now we work very closely with our marketing team. We have a more holistic communications team, so it's really part of the process. We try to look at things as more as a cohesive campaign. So when we have a message, we think about the outcome, we think about the different audiences, and then how that translates to different platforms. So we do have a centralized team. It's very small. I have a team of 4 people who are doing most of the delivery of content across our intranet, our newsroom, some of our other channels like corporate communications. We also have another team that works as far on our AA.com. There's tens of thousands of pages on AA.com. But it is all coordinated. We work very closely and collaboratively. We think of things as far as a holistic. There's internal, there's external. It all ladders up to whatever the overall campaign is.
Okay, excellent. And I'll come for 2 more questions. As a leadership team, do you make a conscious effort to ensure employee NPS and customer NPS are closely aligned? Is it something you monitor at all, or how does that look like?
Yeah, we do. So I mentioned we run an annual survey. It's called Reality Check. Runs twice per year. And that survey measures key engagement drivers, so overall engagement sort of score, and then there are several questions that make up that score. Things like, I'm proud to work for British Airways, I enjoy my job. And a lot of those questions we as communicators or HR professionals can't really control, but there are definitely questions in there that we can control, like, I have the information I need to do my job. I understand where the business is heading, and I trust my manager. And those 3 things are metrics that we can control through communication, because if you have the right channel, if you have the right content, and it's told in engaging ways, and that will definitely help drive up those scores. And like I mentioned earlier, in terms of the customer experience, and those outcomes, always looking at the customer data. So every month, our customer team produces a report on how we're performing across the customer experience. And I'm not sure if it's the same at American Airlines, but our customer experience is made up of about 20 different touch points. And that starts from when you book your flight to when you arrive at the airport, check-in, the boarding experience, the cabin crew, the pilots, the arrival experience, the collecting your bag. So we're always monitoring those touch points and seeing how we can make an impact through our work.
Excellent. So that brings us to time. Thank you so much, everyone. Please give a round of applause for Peter and Nick.